So I found a lot in this book, a shocking amount in this book. Now you guys know the name of my channel, right? Now, I'm intrigued to make a video on these three seers. I mean, as you can tell, my teacher is all about Fatima. But I want to address something that's not very well known. It says the Church and the Rise of Nazism. Next page, persecution in Mexico and Spain. Infuriated by the Pope's criticism, the Nazis launched a campaign of propaganda against the Church. The Concordant could no longer hide the animosity between Nazis and Catholics. The conflict was now in the open, and it would be no turning back. Persecution in Mexico and Spain. During the pontificate of Pius XI, persecution of Catholics was not limited to the Soviet Union and Germany. Traditionally, Catholic Mexico and Spain had broken into civil war, and Pius XI was forced to confront, as he described in his 1937 encyclical on communism, Divini Redemptoris, the indiscriminate slaughter of bishops, priests, men and women, religious, as well as thousands of lay people. The situation in Spain had been deteriorating for years as forces of the left and the right competed for power. After King Alfonso XIII was forced to leave the country, a republic was proclaimed in 1931. The government established the church, secularized education, and sanctioned the burning of churches in 1936. The leftist, socialist, anarchist, and communists called Popular Front came to power in an election. Many feared that a revolution by the radical left was now imminent. In July that year, Spanish army units in Morocco rebelled, and soon Spain was engulfed in civil war. As Spain divided Europe, European powers backed each side, mimicking the allies they would soon build during World War II. Nationalist forces led by General Francisco Franco had the support of Italy and Germany, while the Republicans were aided by the Soviet Union and leftist international brigades. For years, Civil War leftists and Freemasons had waged attacks on the church. Churches were sometimes sacked, burned, the clerics were assassinated. Civil War brought a reign of terror and much larger scale between July 18 and July 1931, 1936. 50 priests were killed in Madrid, and 30 of the city's 150 churches were sacked and burned. In August, more than 2,000 priests and religious were killed in the Republican zone of the country. Killing declined as Franco's government gained greater control of the country, but they continued sporadically until the war's end. In all, 6,832 priests and religious and 13 bishops were martyred from 1936 to 1939. 1 out of 7 Spanish diocesan priests and 1 out of 5 members of a religious order were killed. There is no telling how many lay people lost their lives because of their Catholic faith. Some executioners occurred after hasty trials by people's courts. Other victims were simply lynched. Pius XI called this bloodbath the natural fruit of the system which lacks any inner restraint. 1 million people died in a brutal struggle from which the Nationalists emerged victorious in 1939. Franco's authoritarian regime opposed and executed opponents, but maintained stability, ended much of the violence against the Catholic Church, and kept Spain out of World War II. Events in Mexico followed similar pattern. Mexico had been a Catholic country since colonial times, but revolutionary Freemasons and various political reformers frequently turned on the church after coming from independence in the 19th century. The Revolution of 1917 made Mexico the world's first officially socialist, anti-religious, constitutional, revolutionary republic. The church could not own property, and any privileges it held were removed. Anti-Christian sentiments were so high that the governor of Tabasco province, a particularly brutal prosecutor of religion, named his children Lenin, Lucifer, and Satan. Violence was common in Mexico, particularly under the regime of Plutarco Calles, 1924 to 1928. The persecution eventually led to an armed rebellion by Catholics called Cristeros. That's the name of this channel. The rebellion was quickly put down, and well-known martyr of the rebellion, Miguel Pro S.J. was executed by firing squad on November 23, 1927. Just before his death, he cried out, Viva Cristo Rey! Long live Christ the King! Miguel Pro was beatified by St. John Paul II in 1988, and in 2000, the same people declared several of the Cristeros saints. The feast day is celebrated November 23rd. During the years after the rebellion, the government killed, 250,000 to 300,000 people, most of them Catholics, between late 1931 and early 1936. 480 churches, schools, orphanages, hospitals were closed or used for other functions, such as movie theaters, garages, and shops. Beginning around 1940, there was a gradual easing of persecution in Mexico as the authorities relaxed the enforcement of anti-clerical laws. However, more than half a century still had no past before the religious rights of the church and Mexican people were restored. And I'm not going to read anymore because it's going to get me angry. I have that picture. I should make more videos on what happened in Spain and in Mexico. Peace to you.